We wanted to talk a little bit about China outbound M&A, and curious sort of what you see this year. The past 2 years have been quite a slump in terms of Chinese firms investing overseas. And I'm sort of curious what you expect and if you expect the slowdown to continue.
Yeah, there has been quite a slump, as you say, and I think this year is not a year we're going to see an increase in outbound investment. I think it will either decline, maybe not as much as this year it did, but slightly decline or stay the same. The macroeconomic situation is not good for it, and you've got the same sort of issues you had before, right? Going to the U.S., you have the national security problems. And going to Europe, we've got also national security issues, frankly, and we've got the uncertainty that Brexit brings.
Now, I'm curious if the Phase 1 trade deal between the U.S. and China has brought any confidence back to Chinese business owners.
I don't think so. I think it's too little, too late, and frankly, also if you read it, I don't know if you've read the document, but parts of it are extraordinarily vague. Even for this type of document, they are extraordinarily vague. So it's going to take quite some time for people to find out what it really means and if it means anything. I think the view in China at this point from people I'm hearing is that China gave up too much. I don't really think objectively that is necessarily true, but that's what the Chinese companies are thinking.
Now, what would it take to really sort of reinvigorate outbound M&A in China?
Well, the reason I say that this is not the year, and maybe indicating that further years are possible, is that a lot of people are in a holding pattern right now, waiting to see what's going to happen on many fronts, right? Obviously, what's going to happen on the 2020 U.S. elections, what's going to happen when Brexit actually occurs, and how EU has to readjust for that. What's going to happen as far as the newest national security regulations that have come out in the U.S., which are also, it's unclear. Those are unclear in some respects, and we don't know how they're going to impact the market. So there's a holding pattern this year. Once we get over that holding pattern, potentially the outbound market is going to go up. But that also really depends on the macroeconomics, right? The macroeconomic situation is the overriding factor.
Now, I'm curious, I know you focus mostly on outbound and private equity, but I am curious about the domestic situation. If you think we're going to see more inbound from, say, U.S. firms, European firms, or just Chinese companies using their money there.
Actually, the majority of my practice is inbound. I think it would be for anybody at this time, first of all, because there just isn't that much outbound, and I'm incredibly busy. So inbound, I see no slowing down. I do a lot of work for offshore PE funds, both global funds and regionally based funds. We've seen Baring Private Equity just raised a $6.5 billion fund. One of our clients, Ascendant, just raised over $1 billion fund just focused on China. I think that offshore funds see this as a good opportunity to go in China. The prices are good. Companies that would not necessarily have been interested in having new investors need the financing, especially with the government's deleveraging campaign going on, so they may not be able to get as much leverage domestically. So for funds, this is actually a good market to invest into, carefully, but good market to invest into.